In internship, when we come into internship, the first thing you're divided into rotations, and it was my first rotation. And it was so intense. It was such high pressure zone, because people are in labor, and in 4 hours there's a whole other human being in front of you and a screaming mom, and it was this high voltage, high pressure, high octane kind of department. And I realized that I thrive very well in scenarios of pressure. So naturally OBGYN came to me as something that I felt I loved to do. The outcomes were very clear then. Pregnant woman, mother with baby. Pregnant woman, mother with baby. I loved that it was a thing that had solutions. So for me, I really loved it. And then I also just loved helping out women and establishing a scenario where these people are coming in with a particular scenario, and they walk away and they're happy and they're healthy. So for me, I felt that it was something I was able to offer quick solutions. There's not much hospital stay. People come, have their babies, and go on ahead with the economy to do their thing. So for me, I think that's what really appealed to me more than anything. Of course, I'm also passionate about sexual and reproductive health and its rights. I really feel that women have got a right to what they want, a right to their bodies, a right to their say, a right to ensuring that everything about them is coming from them and is of them. That I love. Coronavirus ni virusi ambazo zinaleta pneumonia kwa adults sana, especially wale wenye wako elderly, wale wasio immunity yao iko compromised kiasi, ndo wanaumia hata zaidi. For me to actually nail down Daktari Wa Mtaa as my lifelong purpose, I had managed to see so many clients over the years, but I still felt that there's still something missing. I could be in an office. I could probably just have sat there and been able to see clients year in, year out until I'm 70. But I sat back and I asked myself, we are all doing this. What can we do a bit differently? How about the client who's not able to afford to come to where I am? What is the reason behind it, and what can I do about it? That, of course, coupled with all the other issues that are going on even in this country and even in the world in general. You know, issues surrounding maternal health, maternal deaths, infant deaths, deaths during childbirth, and all these things that have actually been affecting us, the things that are already entrenched into the goals that we want to have. Issues surrounding universal health coverage, issues surrounding MDGs and SDGs. These are the things that, especially with regards to maternal health, I felt that I wanted to plug in. And one of the ways I knew was to actually go down to the drawing board, to the grassroots, because everything will change from the community. It will all start in the community, and it will all change from the community. So I felt the need to plug in, and the only way was to create this beautiful vehicle called Daktari Wa Mtaa in order for me to be able to go with it into the community. At least to be able to impact even one woman or one man or one child to be able to arrive in hospital on time, and to be able to use the information that they use from our platform to save lives. For me, I feel like that is the biggest vision that I have got. That using information, education, and communication, people can actually take health into their own hands, and they can be able to come into hospital and get better. And the things that ail us in the healthcare space that can actually now form the basis of a national conversation. That people can actually now be engaged and empowered to have the correct conversations, to ask the right questions surrounding their healthcare and the healthcare of their generations to come. The reason I feel that that should be embraced by many more doctors is because you're here for a limited number of time. We are here for a very limited amount of time. I have seen situations where doctors, and brilliant doctors in this country and even beyond, have a thriving practice, and then something happens, either out of old age or disease, and then they leave us. And everything dies with them. Their entire practice, their source of livelihoods, even with their families. You find that everything just goes down the drain because everything that was about this doctor was in here. And there was no mentorship. Or you find that there was no protege to actually take up the mantle and proceed with the work that this doctor had done. So those are some of the things that I find that are very, very sad. And we need to start embracing that culture whereby it is all for one and one for all. You for me and me for you. And the only way a doctor should remember that this is a God-given talent. as much as you say it's a calling, the word calling can be misused and misconstrued. And while I also understand that a calling ideally means that yes, you're called to serve and you're called to do and you're called to save lives first, questions later, I also understand that this doctor is also using their expertise and everything that they know to also raise a family, to also take their kids to school, to also buy groceries in the supermarket just like everybody else. So I understand the importance and I understand where the delicate balance arises. But you should be able to offer more to the society and impact the society even more. The society has also got to understand that our work is very gruesome, almost thankless sometimes. It is most scary. Sometimes we get the very infections we aspire to treat, and getting it in the line of fire. You can imagine coronavirus is just one of the biggest examples I could use. We've lost a lot of doctors due to COVID. As they treat COVID patients, it is very selfless, and we need people to also come back on board and be like, you know what, doc, we hear you, we love you, thank you, instead of the daily, finding ourselves in scenarios where we are always fighting and always looking like we are facing, each other as teammates on opposing sides. We are actually teammates facing one direction. We are all Kenyans, and we're all facing a particular scenario that needs to be sorted out, which is systemic in nature. Let us ask the correct questions to the correct people.
Mimi ni Adisa. Dr. Adisa alikuwa mother, alikuwa doki, alikuwa dem, alikuwa ameweza mbaya. Na Dr. Adisa alimanyuria akiwa kwa line ya duty. Ingekuwa mimi, ingekuwa pia besta wangu wowote. Dr. Adisa alikuwa doki wa power sana. And I'm sure that she did everything she could in her power. Hakuna kitu yenye Adisa alifanya yenye mimi singefanya. Lakini bahati mbaya bado tu COVID ilimchukua.
I have faced quite a challenge, even as a woman in this sphere.
It is very difficult to go through, let's say, a master's of medicine and trying to start a family. That single-handedly was the one thing where you say you did not know how strong you were until being strong was the only choice you had. It was very, very intensive because the courses there, as a self-paid registrar, we are called registrars when we are residents. You're not able to, necessarily be paid. So you'd go to school and you're not having a salary. So you're having to probably, go for part-time shifts in various hospitals across the town just to be able to put food on the table. And you have an infant child, a breastfeeding mother, and you're standing in the hospital for 14 hours back to back, doing over 8 to 9 surgeries on a given day, and your breasts are getting full of milk until they hurt, until you can't even put your hands properly. You're standing like this. Challenges that women ideally do undergo. And I can imagine there are not many places where people have got creches or places in the workplace where they can have their children being brought to them. And when you look at the environment where you're bringing an infant child into a hospital setup, you can imagine they can come in healthy and live with something. So those were some of the times that doctors and even women doctors and even I have really questioned which direction we are going. You question whether to defer, and you're deferring, which is not helpful, or you cry. You actually just come out of theater and you ugly cry.
By the way, your test si uchungu. Unasikia nikaa maybe kaa inzi imeingia kwa mapua yako vile unasikia kanika kuna kitu kugwaragwara huko ndani. Ni uncomfortable lakini si uchungu na ni haraka upesi in out. Test shatoka. So kama unajisikia kupimwa, uishia.
I would advise this woman to be completely resilient, to shut out the noise, because all the water in the ocean cannot sink a ship unless it gets inside. So you have to be in a situation where you really know what it is you truly want, and you really have to know what it will take. You have to know your why, because your why will help you know whether you're in the right path or not. My final words. I remember a quote I really love, and it says that I shall pass through this road but once. Any good therefore that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. We go through life procrastinating as if tomorrow is guaranteed, and it's not. So do what you can today, do it well. To the girls whom I really like to talk to, and even to the little boys whom I still do like talking to in the slum and in the ghetto, that doesn't have to be your end. That is not the end. That is the beginning. But while you're there, be alive. Be present to what is happening to you there and then. And live fully, even while you're in that scenario. Even as you come out with lessons, and you come out with ways in which you can impact others. And while even you're living your life, be happy. Find joy in anything that you do. Find laughter. If you have to cry, do it. Cry so hard and be done. Because after that, you have to wake up and things have to be done. And work has got to be done. For me, that is what I can say. Be very, very, very alive to yourself and to your emotions. Be attuned to the things that make you you. And everything will be fine.